Hi guys, this is Kuba. I'm one of the co-founders at Eve and the head of brand. And I'm just going to talk you through some background of Eve. This is going to be quite a personal presentation. And actually it seemed very apt to be opening it with three of my children. There's Oscar on the left, who's 19. Stevie, the girl on the right, she's 6 years old, and they're both sat on our youngest daughter Eve, who's now just over 2.5, and she's the hardest work out of all my children, let me tell you. There's not going to be many numbers in this presentation. I don't do numbers if I can help it, but basically we are 2 years, 8 months and 26 days old. We've sold just over 63,000 mattresses to date. We're operating across 15 countries, including the UK and the Netherlands, obviously. We've done 26 million pounds, more than 26 million pounds of revenue today in the 2.5 years, and within 2 years we've got to nearly 2% of the UK mattress market and 20% of the online market, 2%, and 20% of the general mattress market. These are UK figures. I don't have sort of pan-European or Dutch figures, but we've grown fast, basically, is what the numbers tell you. And finally, we have 106 fantastic employees. With the founders, there's 110 of us, all in a very buzzy office in Camden. The other thing is this wonderful thing happened in May of this year. We floated on the London Stock Exchange. There's Stevie appearing again. You can see her just at the bottom of that photo. But we were one of the youngest companies ever to float on the stock market, and we were the first retail IPO or flotation of 2017. So we're immensely proud of that, and we're immensely proud of what really can be achieved with a great team, great brand, great business, great product, etc. So what this presentation isn't going to be is helping you guys find the magic sauce or the secret sauce, because I don't think there is one. I've looked very hard for it and I still haven't been able to find it. I think it's a combination of factors, one of which is luck, actually. But one thing I do want to sort of communicate to you guys is I just want to sort of talk about some of the things that I've learned, both on my short journey and in a relatively long advertising career. I've worked in advertising for nearly 20 years. So these are going to be 5 short lessons. Hopefully they will be of interest and of some use to you guys. So the first one is casting, and it's about getting the right band members together. This is obviously the Beatles. I'm not comparing us to the Beatles. We're nowhere near as cool or rock and roll. But this is our Fab Four. For me, it's important getting people that have very differing skill sets. You don't want 4 Ringo Starrs in your band or 4 Paul McCartneys. We each bring something very different at Eve, and just to sort of talk you through the lineup here. On the left is James, who is in charge of creating the fantastic product that the Eve is. So his official title is Head of Product at Eve, and he's in charge of sort of doing all of the product development, of product research, and he's continually striving to bring new great products to market and improve on the existing products as well. So we do constant R&D on all of our on all of our products. Felix, the slightly scary looking German man there with the curly hair, is our COO. He was head of internationalization at Rocket Internet, I think the biggest German e-commerce incubator. It's now a £10 billion company. Felix was their head of internationalization. So an incredibly experienced operations guy. Yash on the right hand side is my younger cousin and our CEO. And his background was also Rocket Internet. He's a classic startup internet guy, He has numbers coming out of every hole in his body. He is incredibly brainy and smart, incredibly logical. And then that's me, the third guy. I'm the granddad of the crew. And my background is advertising, branding, marketing. I was head of marketing at a broadcaster in the UK called Channel 4. And I worked for various ad agencies. Finished up my career at Saatchi & Saatchi, where I was managing director there. And actually, I just want to go a little bit deeper into this casting point, because I think if I sort of further unpick it, for me, it's about catering the left-hand side of the brain and the right-hand side of the brain. And I think this is, I have a theory that this is the basis of building a successful consumer brand, is making sure the left and right-hand side of the brain are catered for. And I think this sums up Eve really nicely. So the next slide, you can see really I've started to really unpick what that means. So whereas the left-hand side of the brain, or let's call it the business side of the brain, is analytical, the creative side of the brain is intuitive. The business side is logical. I've talked about Yash's ability with numbers. The creative side is emotional. The business side is linear, and the creative side is conceptual. We're much more conceptual thinkers. The business side is concrete, and the creative side is more visual. The business side is numerical, we're more physical. The business side is results driven, and we're provocation or problem driven. Don't give us the answer, tell us the problem, we'll find the answer on the creative side. And finally, business strategy is results informed. My cousin loves numbers. He loves figuring out what the numbers are, and that informs him. For me, I'm problem inspired, and I think that's a really brilliant, actually, definition of what creativity is. For me, creativity is solving problems in interesting, new, different ways, and that, for me, sums up a creative person. But it's the mixture of these two things, which for me will not guarantee success, but help success along. And I think if you don't bridge the two things, you will quite literally fail. Because if you're all numbers, if you're all logic and no magic, then you're screwed, because you won't mean anything to the consumer. You won't hit them in the heart where it really matters. And if you're all magic and no logic, you're equally fucked. You're equally screwed, because you won't get anything done, quite frankly. And if our company was a whole lot of creatives, we'd still be debating 3 years down the line whether we should be yellow, orange or blue. The second lesson, I should turn it around so you can see. The second lesson is have a vision, or 2 or 3. I think common wisdom teaches us that we need one vision and you need to stick to it. I disagree with that completely. I think visions can change. People change, circumstances change, businesses change. I also think there are different types of vision. There is a company vision, there's a brand vision, there's a product vision, there's a service vision. You can have many visions. Don't be scared of visions. Visions are your friend. But my cousin had a fantastic vision, and actually this is visionary. So he was a very visionary when he said this to me. When he persuaded me to resign from Channel 4, he sort of said a whole lot of things, but one thing stuck in my mind, and he said, I want to make sleep cool. I want to make it cool. And this doesn't seem so kind of strange or out of the ordinary now that we have a lot of cool sleep companies. You know, there's us, there's Simba, there's Casper. Nike are bringing out a sleep range. Arianna Huffington talks about sleep. Sleep is becoming cool. Believe you me, 3 years ago, sleep and mattresses were not cool. So this was just a great vision, which sort of got his band of merry men together, really, behind a shared goal. But he also had a product vision. His product vision was, I only want to make one type of mattress, which again, no one was doing that. No one. We were the first to do one type of mattress in Europe. And for me, that's a brilliant product vision to have. You know, we were sort of, when we all heard that, we thought, well, you can't just do one type of mattress. You have to have a soft one and a firm one and a sprung one and a foam one and a blah, blah, blah. Well, no, he said there's going to be one mattress and that's what it's going to be. It was a great vision he had. He also had a service vision. We give people 100-night sleep trial, and the Ash knew that we had to offer that if we were to succeed as an e-commerce company without any showrooms, etc. But for me, all of these things that I'm talking through, they constitute visions. They're all visions that he had around product, company, etc. There was a brand vision which I had as well, so I didn't want to miss out on the vision party. So I also brought along a vision, and that was the brand vision, which I will talk you through in a few slides' time. The third lesson is treat everything as media, especially your packaging and perhaps even your product. So I talk about our packaging as being our first ever advertising campaign. Before we could afford TV advertising or even PR, we just used the inside of our box as a canvas. And the amount of time, this is our mattress packaging, this is our pillow packaging here, the amount of times that, the amount of sort of user-generated content this got. We got coverage in Elle Decoration in our first month, Sunday Times Style, Vogue online covered us. Everyone just absolutely loved the packaging. It didn't just stop with the packaging, however. We also used the product as media as well. We commissioned a famous British artist called David Shinninglaw to just design a piece of artwork on our mattress, and we gave him 3 words. Up there you can see the perfect start, which is what our brand is about. So this is now using the product as a media canvas as well. And we even did it with the pillows. We commissioned another artist called Super Mundane to design us an alphabet, and I'm just going to play you a short video which shows what we did with the design product.
Wish I could stop breaking, spend all day just thinking for you.
When you sleep, I'm thinking. When you sleep, I'm thinking. When you sleep, I'm thinking for her. Wish I still could love you, floating high above you. Just don't think I'm sinking for you.
This pillow talk don't wake me up.
My dream is done.
I'm still in love.
I know your fear.
Just lying here,
I think I'll leave.
Please don't, my dear. This pillow talk will wake me up no matter what I'm dreaming.
When you leave, I'm lying. When you leave, I'm lying. When you leave, I'm lying for you.
So this campaign shows the magic that can happen when you quite literally use your product as the media canvas. And we actually presented this to Facebook last week. Facebook, this is one of the most engaging campaigns that Facebook had. We used Facebook as the platform for this. And we presented to the whole of the UK Facebook team. It was terrifying. There's about 6,000 people there. But it just shows, use product as media and how engaging that can be. Lesson number 4 is a short one. Stay focused. Don't lose your focus. This goes back to my vision slide, really, which is, when you have a vision, make sure that you don't lose track on where you're trying to get to. We knew what we wanted to achieve. We actually have sold in a new vision to the market, which is we want to be the leading European sleep brand by 2020, the number 1 in Europe. When you have something as clear as that, it gives you a point of focus. You just have to ask yourselves, is this going to get us to our end goal? And if the answer is no, then it's not worth doing. And the wonderful thing, again, linking back to the casting slide, about having clear, logical thinkers like my cousin and Felix, is that they tend to keep slightly more creative, roundabout thinkers like myself on the straight and narrow, and they keep people like me focused. The final point is going to be the longest part of the presentation, because it's a point which I want to expand upon, because this is my area of expertise, I suppose. And really, a brand is more than a great logo, product, or ad. And it's funny. The amount of times I've heard e-commerce startup people going, once the logo's done, we've got a brand, right? What's the brand guy going to do after logo's done? Or once we've got a name, that's quite frankly a ludicrous sentence, because a brand is the consumer's idea of a product. That's, for me, the neatest definition of what a brand is. Therefore, your brand should keep evolving. Your brand should keep changing. With your changing consumers, with their changing brains, with the changing facet of what society is doing, of culture. A brand should be constantly changing, constantly flexing. So what I'd like to do is just talk through some of the fundamentals behind the Eve brand. But before we do that, I just wanted to pause for a second and just sort of think about why is brand important, actually. And that's because it's worth a lot, quite frankly. This is a Forbes valuation of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola would be valued at £50 billion without their brand. So that 50 billion is all of the sugared water, all of the Coke product they sell, plus what's in stock, warehouses, multiplied by, I think, 3 or something like that, however you calculate company value. The real value of Coca-Cola is 120 billion. So 2/3 of the value of Coke is their brand, is something intangible, is something you can't touch or drink or feel or smell. It's a vibe, it's an emotion. So this isn't just fluff. This is real valuable stuff. Back to Eve. I want to go back to the beginning, really. And when we started creating the Eve brand, thinking about the Eve brand, we looked at what the market was doing, really. That's obviously the starting point, right? And we realized that every single sleep brand or mattress brand behaved in exactly the same sleepy way. I mean, there were literally certainly in the UK, if you got the brands up on the wall, you just could not tell them apart. They were the same colours. They were blue and white. They had clouds on. A lot of the logos had sleeping iconography on: the sleeping moon, Silent Night; a sleeping hippo, Hypnos. The whole industry was metaphorically and literally asleep. So we wanted to wake the whole thing up. And really, what I wanted to do, and this is my original sketchbook from when I formulated the brand. This is a scan of it. This isn't a mock-up. This is actually my original sketchbook. The answer lay here in the point which is 4 here, which is every great day starts the night before. And this is a sort of phrase that I came up with on which we have hinged everything, quite literally. We decided, there's a word here, zingy, which in English means sort of alert, wide awake. And we sort of gave birth to this idea that if the whole industry was like a cup of cocoa before bed, we'd be like a glass of orange juice when you wake up in the morning. And for us, that really gave us the sort of idea to do everything. We became yellow because it's the colour of energy and life and mornings and sun. Eve means the first. It means to live, to breathe in Hebrew. Obviously, Eve being the first woman. In ancient Greek, it means first. It was, it has all of those sort of new dawn, new life, new day connotations with the name. We talk about, very much. We talk about energy and waking up. Here you have wake up, and this we did, I think, in the second week of getting around the table together as founders. And I think if you look at these 2 pages, we've pretty much executed all of this in the last 2.5 years. If you want me to put it into words, we believe that everybody deserves the perfect start. Eve is based on a simple belief that every great day starts the night before. Better sleep, better you, better day. And that it becomes an incredibly empowering brand position to have, because no longer are we talking about being fast asleep. We're talking about all of the great things you can achieve that sleep gives you. So we're not talking about the functionality of sleep. We're talking about what that actually gives you and what you can achieve. And it opens up a world of content and possibilities and brilliant ways to emotionally engage your audience with all the brand touch points. What I'd like to do now for the last 5 minutes is actually go through different facets of our brand so you can see how that brand positioning is actually executed across the various areas. And there are some other brand sort of fundamentals which I wanted to talk you guys through. So the first thing is imagery. We like to think about imagery as dynamic. It has movement. If we call ourselves an energy brand, we can't just show people asleep. However, we are, after all, a sleep brand, right? I mean, we sell sleep products. We're a mattress. You sleep on a mattress. So it's sometimes a challenging thing to balance those two things. And I think this is the perfect image which shows someone jumping up with someone else asleep. And it's this lovely mixture of energy and sleep, which is kind of we call the sweet spot of Eve imagery. How do you do product? It's really hard to do product with movement and dynamism. Well, here's an example of how we shot our pillows. We literally dropped them from a balcony in the studio and filmed them tumbling down. Again, a still product shot with movement sums up the Eve brand really nicely. And sometimes, we do have to show people asleep, and it presents a challenge. So on the next slide, I just want to show you how we do people asleep with movement. So that shows how we can actually show people experiencing the product whilst having a lot of movement in our content. The other thing about Eve is we sort of like to think of ourselves as a smart brand, a clever brand, an intelligent brand, and this isn't sort of to put us out of touch and unattainable, but I think everyone. Brands are sometimes scared to embrace that sort of smart bit, think, well, if we're smart, then we're going to be too elitist. I don't believe in that at all. So I just want to show you some piece of communication which I think absolutely nail this. So here is an example of a poster that we ran. In fact, it was the first ever campaign that we did in the United Kingdom. We were about 7 months old at this point. And this was a sort of letter of apology to the coffee companies. So the headline reads, Starbucks, Costa, Cafe Nero, you're not going to like this. Apologies to all our barista friends on the high street, but there's a wonderful natural stimulant available that never gets the recognition it deserves. Sleep, glorious sleep. And it goes on to just talk about the benefits of sleep and how sleep may even replace your morning coffee. It's funny, it's clever, it's witty, and I think it's, I think brands shouldn't sometimes be scared to come across as a clever brand, because actually consumers like buying into clever brands. There's another example here of a press advert that we ran where we represent broken sleep patterns with words and dots. Sleep patterns are so much nicer unbroken, and it starts to talk about, again, the benefit of getting a solid night's sleep. So it starts to cement our sort of position as experts on sleep with this brand position of having energy and start, and how brilliant a great night's sleep will make you feel. Cleverness and smartness can also come from visual design. So this is an example of vans that we now have travelling around London, unfortunately not in Amsterdam or the Netherlands, but these are in London. We have a small fleet of vans now, and this is actually a design on the outside of the van. It looks like the door's open. It's an optical illusion, obviously. We have van drivers. The company who run the fleet for us call us up saying the van drivers are stopped literally every day by people saying, "Excuse me, your door's open." That for me is just a clever piece of creative graphic design. We also use content a lot, and we use our sort of brand positioning, this perfect start positioning, for engaging, moving content. You've already seen the positional thing on the bed, and how we use GIFs to bring that to life. Here's an email send out we did last week when the clocks moved in the UK. So the title of the email was called "Fall Back into Bed for 1 hour," because people had an extra hour to sleep. And here, with this GIF, you can just see again how we use movement and energy to just sort of bring this thought to life in an Eve way. And this piece of content is a particular favourite of mine. It's our latest sort of Facebook performance marketing piece of content. And the brief to my team was we want to show how good the Eve mattress is at absorbing, movement or motion when your partner is asleep. So the traditional way that brands have done this is you show two people asleep and one person moving in their sleep and the other person not disturbed, or they do one person asleep with a glass of wine or something. We just wanted to do something different, so enjoy the video. So again, you can see how we demonstrate a product benefit like that in a very Eve way. And by the way, you know when your brand is onto something when you can start using it as an adjective. You know, is that Eve or is that not Eve? You know, can you please do me a film in an Eve way? I want to do this press interview in an Eve way. When it starts to become an adjective, you know that you're starting to have something around the brand which stands for something. And the thing about brands and great brands is they do stand for something. They have a point of view on the world. You know, Mercedes, Nike, Apple, they all have a point of view on the world. And you can use all of those brands as adjectives. Wow, that's very Apple-esque. That's very Mercedes-esque. And that's what we're trying to achieve and do at Eve. We're on to our last section, you'll be pleased to know. So it's a PR section. And this is simply, again, I think something which not enough startups do. A lot of established brands do this. A lot of fashion brands actually do this. A lot of sort of car brands do this very well in PR and communications. But a lot of startups just expect people to write about them. But we believe at Eve that you need to make the news as well. You need to give journalists something to write about. So I'm going to show two examples of how we've done this in the UK. The first is something we did about a year and a half ago, and we called this the Nap Station. We took over a small unit in a sort of trendy part of London, East London, and this was an old disused brewery called Truman Brewery, where there was lots of creative businesses around. There wasn't huge footfall here, but there was a lot of businesses, a lot of startups, a lot of advertising agencies, media agencies, PR agencies, etc. And we had the idea to give workers somewhere where they could nap, they could sleep. So here's an example of the inside. We had 4 of these nap pods with curtains, and the idea was really simple. We would create a space where Londoners could nap in order to wake up feeling energized. Again, bang on brand. If you think back to that original brand slide, we believe in the perfect start. We believe every great day starts the night before. We believe when you sleep well, something brilliant happens when you wake up. So this was a real life expression of that in London, right? We were not sure if these were going to be full, but I can tell you this was up for 4 weeks, and these were full 100% of the time. The book was booked out all of the time. It was absolutely amazing. This is a reverse view, which just shows that this space was constantly busy. On the lower floor, we had a table where people could power up their laptops, again, powering up. And people would just come in and work. And we also, that's the reverse view, you can see the nap pods. We also served coffee. Interesting statistic, I'm not sure if you guys know, but if you drink coffee, and this is true, if you drink coffee just before sleeping, you wake up and you feel even more refreshed, because as long as you fall asleep within about half an hour of drinking the coffee, it takes about 25 minutes for coffee to hit your bloodstream. So if you fall asleep just after you've drunk a coffee, by the time you wake up, that coffee would have already woken you up and you'll just feel fantastic. So we put a coffee bar in our nap station so people could have a coffee before they napped. We also had lots of brand messages on the wall, so people had, people when they visited the nap station were in no doubt what the Eve brand stood for, what the Eve brand was about. So an example here is, when you believe you've slept well, even if you haven't, you perform better in the day. And again, these were post-its which customers had left us, just completely. They started doing this themselves. We didn't ask them to do this, and they were just saying, great, we loved it, but they were engaging with the space, and there's a sort of physical example of that here. And finally, we had talk. So this was a sort of talk about morning yoga routines and pre-bed yoga. Again, very much on brand, and this is an example of how busy these talks were. The next example, and the final example I want to take you through, is just things like surveys that we do. Now, surveys aren't particularly exciting. It's been a technique and tactic that PR agencies have used probably for decades, I expect. We ran a survey in the United Kingdom about interviewing people what makes a great night's sleep, the rituals they have. The pickup in the national press was absolutely amazing. I mean, we got covered by, I think, 7 national papers. Here there's an example. We got onto the front cover of the Daily Express, and we had almost a quarter of a page article where they quoted myself, my cousin, the CEO, and called out Eve, I think, 5 times in the article. But that for me isn't amazing. What I think is really interesting is what we then do with that content. And I urge you all, if any of you are sort of business or brand owners in the audience, just think about, don't stop when you think the job is done. Just think how you can get the most out of content and out of statistics. So I want to play out with a short video that we created after we commissioned the sleep study and after it got the PR. And this has now created a complete second wave of engagement and content for us, because it's all over Facebook as we speak. So that just shows what you can do with quite dry content. I mean, you know, we had a whole load of statistics on a white piece of paper, X% sleep with the lights off, X% sleep with the partner, and you can turn that into something interesting and engaging. The very last thing I want to show you is really sort of you probably saw Sleep Rich at the end of that Facebook video, statistic video, and this is our very latest campaign we're running in the United Kingdom. Sleep Rich is just another extension of Every Great Day Starts the Night Before. Every great day starts the night before. If you sleep badly, you will not perform at your best. If you sleep well, you will wake up feeling amazing. So our Sleep Rich campaign is just dramatizing that insight, really. So it's only 30 seconds. Enjoy the ad. I believe this will be on air in the Netherlands in the next few months. So you'll be seeing it on your TV screens. But I just wanted to thank you for your time. Enjoy the commercial.
Some warning signs you may be sleep poor, difficulty concentrating.
There you go.
You're hungrier than usual. You're needlessly irritable.
What?
You zone out. You're prone to cliches.
Don't cry over spilled milk.
You're clumsy. You're emotional. And that happens. A message to the sleep poor. Join the Sleep Rich. Try the Eve mattress with our 100-night trial. If you don't sleep better, we'll pick it up again for free.